22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 22.
Welcome. Another great show, People Before Politics radio show, in the mix radio.com. And if you're listening, you could call in at 914-969-6499 or 718-705-4959, blackwestchester.com, in the mix radio. Welcome everybody if you're listening.
Yes. We got Damon K. Jones in the house.
Yes.
Shout out to the Queen Cynthia Turnquest-Jones. She's on location at the Central Park 5. I guess they're having like a rally or something in Harlem. She's going to call in from location. You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to her. We got a couple of guests. I'm AJ Woodson behind the board. We have Juanita Lewis of Community Voices Heard.
Hello.
I do not want to mess up my man's name.
Benyamin Bridges of Parents Against Teen Violence.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, and we're also expecting Mount Vernon City Council President Marcus Griffith.
Round of applause for our guest.
Yes. Oh, and also, brother's going to call in. Oh, we're also expecting at 6:15, Dr. Kenneth Hamilton, who is the superintendent of Mount Vernon School District. He's supposed to call in at 6:15. And we got another call in.
An author, what's his name?
I'm trying to find the brother's name. Bill Whitfield, right?
Yes.
Bill Whitfield, and his new book coming out, and he's gonna tell us about his book. What's the name of his book? Anybody know? Nobody wrote down the name of the brother's book, man.
Priscilla, you got it in the thing?
Priscilla, if you're listening, please let us know the name of the brother's book.
Yes. So Damon, we always start out with what you did for the last week. You know, what you did for over the last week.
Well, you know, I attended a few events. I attended a few events. Celebration of a couple of my friends have a law firm. They had a great party there. A lot of judges.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, and then
always good to know a lot of judges.
Yeah. It's always good to know judges. You know, get to a lot of the judges out because it's election time this year. You know, some judges I think they're 10 years and 15 years. So you get to see the judges and talk to them.
This is the only time you get to see them unless you're in their courtroom.
Well, I never try to be in the judge's courtroom. You know, that's something I don't try. That's something I don't try to do.
Person that's not in their courtroom, you don't see the judges other than this time of year.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. That was the point I was making.
You know, yeah, and had a couple of meetings. You know, and I attended Richard Thomas's was
fundraiser,
day party. It was good. You know,
yes,
it was very good to see the
Shout
people come
to
out.
Councilman Richard Thomas.
Yes, and I think and we'll get into the conversation later on in the show. I just want to take nothing from it, but I think that the community of Mount Vernon, from what I saw, really expressed their concern for Richard Thomas to put his hat in the ring for Mayor of Mount Vernon, and Brother Benyamin, who's our guest today, he was there, and we'll get into that later. You know, that's something we want to talk about.
I posted it on Facebook. I had 2-3 people say, "Who's the community?" Because it says community is asking for, council.
Right.
Who's the read the story and you'll find out. That's all
Well, I mean,
like you just saw the headline and was like, "Who's the community?" Like,
I mean, it's a question because some people ask the same question when Ruth Hassel Thompson announced it. She said the community wanted her to run.
Yeah.
But
my point is, though,
with this event, we really saw the community.
They didn't read
know.
the story. They just saw the headline and was asking about it. And you get the answer
Right.
if you read the story. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's why the story's there. Click on the link, read the story. BlackWestchester.com, news with the black point of view. We try to cover the events, cover the black community as a large. Things that you won't see. Files and News 12 and the Journal News come out. They come out when somebody's bleeding and somebody getting beat up beside the head. But a lot of positive stuff they don't cover. They don't cover a lot of the small community groups and stuff like that. I don't know if they don't feel it's newsworthy or they don't have the time, but somebody has to cover that. So we try to cover that, to be the voice of the black community. So that, blackwestchester.com, check it out. We update it daily, and check it out.
Yeah.
Oh, we also had you said the superintendent's calling. He put together. He was responsible for putting together a musical production of The Wiz this week.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, and the last day, it's going on right now. It started at 4. The last performance is going on right now at Mount Vernon High School. It was very good. Definitely, he said I'm gonna let him talk more about it. And I shout to Ken Silvers, who called me today, who's the assistant superintendent, who said he's got some information for Black Westchester on the budget. The school budget.
Great.
He wants to meet this week to talk about the school budget of Mount Vernon and the problems. So we're definitely going to sit down with him.
Right, and I also think
Brenda Crump.
Brenda Crump.
Yes, Brenda Crump.
Board member Brenda Crump, who's running for re-election. We're going to bring her back on, and she's doing a great job. And I hope she gets re-elected, and we're going to do what we can do. As blackwestchester.com, People Before Politics, Blacks Law Enforcement of America, politicallyindependent.org, Mount Vernon Independent Democratic Party, to make sure, yes, we are part of all that, to make sure that Brenda Crump gets back in, because she has been an asset to the Board of Education and an asset to the Mount Vernon community. And I'm saying this because I think there's a bright future for Brenda Crump in Mount Vernon politics.
And one thing was really big. She hit me up a week ago and asked me, did anybody contact us about the VIP reception that they were having? And they reached out to all the press, and I said no. She said she got on them for reaching out to all the mainstream press, most of which did not show up. Didn't
even do a story on it
to make sure that People Before Politics and Black Westchester, those who actually cover the community, are invited to cover that. And she went out of her way to make it happen, so I give her a shout out, because without her we wouldn't have been there. We wouldn't have been there, and all the mainstream press that they normally reach out to was not there to cover it. So as with a lot of other things. And sometimes I want to say too, I go to all these press conferences and stuff. I've gone places and I've seen News 12 and I've seen the Journal News there, and there's still no story. But I've seen them there though. So like if I wasn't there, I would never known that they was there, because there was never no story on it. So I've gone to a couple of those things where they were actually there and they still wasn't a story.
Oh, well, that's because news mainstream media is driven by
if it bleeds, it leads
by ratings now, and just ratings. So things that are, and I'm not knocking News 12. And I'm not knocking Journal News. I have great relationships with a lot of people in both of those franchises.
Yes, actually, they follow us. They all follow us.
Right, but we understand. There's decisions that's made to keep to keep different articles out, different news coverage out, and that's what makes Black Westchester so viable to the community and viable to Black people in Westchester County, because we're going to cover some of the things that they can't cover,
And I've actually had one or two that and I won't say their name. It was like there's a lot of things they would like to cover and they would like to be at, but they can't, and they're either sent somewhere else or they told that that's not something that's going to get covered. So they tell me keep posting and keep tweeting them, and sometimes they will take what I have and then they will make a bigger story, take what I have and build on it sometimes, but they can't be there sometimes. So we have to sometimes create that initial press to get their attention to make it big enough for them to cover it. So,
right. And I'd just like to mention, if you missed the show today, you could go to blackwestchester.com, and if you are living in the White Plains area, you could catch us on White Plains Public Access every Sunday from 3 to 5. Verizon, channel 45, and Cablevision, channel 76. So if you really loving us, you could have a good old Sunday afternoon watching previous shows on White Plains Public Access, and then getting on InTheMixRadio.com and watching us live.
And also, since
a big shout out to White Plains Public Access for giving us a full 2-hour show.
Absolutely. And since Brenda sent this email out to the whole Board of Education and everybody in that circle, so there may be some people that are tuning in for the first time to hear the superintendent speak. You can download.
Does he have the
app.
number? We may. I hope okay. Because I don't. That screen's not up.
The screen's not on, but I'm.
Okay. Okay.
So you can download the app on your phone and your mobile devices. Go to your Google's Play Store if you're on Android. And what is it for iPhones? What is this? Where you get your apps?
Yeah, the App Store.
The App Store, and look for In the Mix Radio, mix with two X's, and download it, and you can listen to it and watch it on your phone while you're out and about. So if you want to check this.
And coming up on the 21st is a young man who, you know what? Let me come back to that so I can have the story.
No doubt.
I just want to make sure.
And
I
also
got it
one last plug. Next Saturday, April 25th. Is it the 5th?
Right.
Damon and I will be speaking on the portrayal of Black men in the media, in conjunction with Shiloh Baptist Church's men's ministry. It will be at the Radisson. Information is on Black Westchester site. You can see the flyer. I think you have to get the tickets in advance. I don't think they're selling tickets at the door. The flyer said so. It's a luncheon. It's and we've been asked to speak. And NBA legend Nate Tiny Archibald will be one of the speakers, and another NBA legend. And another friend of the show, attorney Mayo Bartlett, will be speaking as well. So we will be addressing the portrayal of Black men in the media, which I am definitely looking forward to. They may not agree with what I have to say, but I'm definitely looking forward to that. So that's next Saturday. And like I said, the flyer's on blackwestchester.com. Make sure you check. Just keep checking the site.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So now, to our guests, introduce yourself briefly, each one of y'all. Start with Juanita. You've been here before, but tell
she's a friend. She's no stranger to the show.
No stranger to this. No. So my name's Juanita Lewis. I'm the lead Westchester organizer for a group called Community Voices Heard.
Okay, and
myself. I'm Benyamin Bridges. I'm from.
Make sure you speak right into the mic too.
Oh, okay. There we go. Benyamin Bridges. I'm from a group called Parents Against Teen Violence, and we also have another group called Spiritual Unity in the Community. And I've been doing this for quite a few years in Mount Vernon.
I like that, spiritual unity in the community. There's a lot of people that talk about unity in the community, but they leave the spiritual part out.
Right.
And sometimes that's the key, the spiritual.
That's the essence, brother.
Yeah. So no matter what it is that you believe, that spiritual essence is definitely something that has been big in the Black community and all of our movements and all of our progression all through history. So I definitely applaud you on that, though.
Thank you.
Definitely want you to speak. I know you mentioned like I said, you were at Rich Thomas event. I know you mentioned something about representing over 100 families whose children was murdered in the streets of Mount Vernon. Is that correct? And if so, can you speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, well, basically, it's been quite a few youth. You're talking about back to 2008, 2009, and that's where we had each of those years we had about 18 murders of youth, for each year.
Wow.
So that was a big episode in Mount Vernon where the gangs kind of just like went totally berserk. And during that time period, it really was sad because so many youth, were killed. And I mean, that's how I even got involved with it, because there was a few youth that I knew from Little Tots that I had to go and see some of these youth in their coffins, man, and it just tore me up. So, and it was so funny because my wife was saying to me, yo, you need to get involved with this, you need to get involved. And I was like, it'll work itself out. But then it seemed like the Lord just like pulled me by the collar and said, yo, look at these kids in these coffins and tell me you're going to walk away from this.
Wow.
Right.
Well,
Couldn't do it.
now we have Juanita here, and one of the things you speak a lot about is poverty. The thing that they do not want to speak about in Westchester County, like it does not exist since it's
Right.
one of the most wealthy counties. But speak about what he's talking about, how poverty plays a role in that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. We were actually out in the hall, and we were just
Right.
talking about all these different connections between, like, if you don't have that sense of stability, whether it's around housing, employment, education, that leads you down a path you don't want to go. And
Right.
most of the times, for a lot of our young folks, it's crime.
Right.
And when we talk about issues of poverty or the root causes of it, we talk about race and class and gender, but we don't talk about how these things are correlated, right? How they're
Absolutely.
connected, and how that leads to something else. If I don't have a job that pays livable wages, I can't afford rent. If I can't afford rent, I'm figuring out, well, what are the 3 or 4 jobs I have to do at low wages just to make ends meet?
Right.
Sometimes the sacrifice is, I can't go to a parent-teacher conference, right?
Right.
Or I can't, take my child to an after-school program if there is an after-school program
Right,
available
right,
because
right.
of budget cuts. And so poverty is that vicious cycle that, is ongoing, it's generational, and, there've been many, many studies about poverty, right? And other people have opinions around how you can eradicate poverty. And I'm one of those people that feels like we can do everything we can possibly to chip away at it, but poverty will never fully be eradicated until we really start talking about race and class at a real deep level in this country.
Absolutely. Also, I just want to mention Cynthia usually posts something on Facebook, and everybody on her page and everyone who's listening to the show that is in her camp usually leaves comments there. Well, I have posted it on my Facebook page, so if you want to comment through Facebook, go to my Facebook page and just comment on the post about the radio show, and we can interact that way. Because Cynthia holds us down. She's
consistently on
she's
it.
Sitting there,
Yeah.
she's clicking.
Right.
Most time you see her like this, her head's down, she's clicking. She's communicating with everybody, reading their comments, their feedback, and she's not here, so.
Well, she's still commenting on Facebook though. She's here.
Oh, she's still commenting. Okay, I gotta go to her page then. Okay.
Yeah. She's still commenting.
Okay.
Oh, she's posting pictures of her with Brother Youssef.
Right. Right.
She says calling in from Harlem in a few minutes.
Oh, that's
So
what's
she's
up.
gonna give us an update to what's going on,
That's what's up.
and that's a beautiful thing. I think last week's show was great anyway, because you had Brother Youssef Salam here, who we all know his ordeal and his triumphs and his struggle throughout his life for justice, and also to have Greenberg Town Supervisor Paul Feiner and the Independence Party Chairman Dr. Cavallo here, being very concerned on the process of justice. And even Paul Feiner mentioning that, we have to, elected officials, and we're going to follow up with them on this,
Absolutely.
have to use their bully pulpit to
Yes.
correct these injustices in our justice system. And I thought it was wonderful that, he stepped out to say that, on air and live, and that, we don't hear that from our elected officials
Absolutely.
many times. They shuck and jive and they dance around the issue of real criminal justice reform in New York State and transparency and accountability of the criminal justice system from the police to the jails. So big up for Paul Feiner for saying that you know, he is willing to be one of those people to step out of the box and actually address that. You know, I think it was very, very unique, because when you have to start bringing the victims, you know, with the politicians, with the people that create legislation,
Absolutely.
bring them together, because a lot of times, because of our cultures, we're so far removed.
Yeah.
You know, but when you're sitting next to the man that went through that ordeal and he's telling you what he went through, you know, I mean, if you have any type of compassion and any type of heart and any type of leaning towards righteousness and justice, you have to, you know, stand up. And I think that was something great.
And last week was a good example. Like I was talking about the two of y'all, you know, how it brings the two of y'all together. But to bring someone like a victim of the Central Park Five and a white politician from Greenberg who in real world may have never crossed paths. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And have them sit next to each other, and you can watch the video. Paul was genuinely like, wait, hold on.
Right.
He was like,
right. How could this happen?
Wait,
Right.
the government did what? So the government there's no, like, he was really baffled, like,
How this
and you
could
can
happen.
see how genuine that is,
Right.
and that only comes from, again, the sitting next to. He's heard the story. Even Dr. Valo was like, yo, I know the story, but to hear it, like, personally,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it's on a whole nother level. So I'm glad that we are that bridge to be able to
Right.
bring various people from different walks of life
Right.
together and
And Doc went to the point to say, I'm having a function. I want you to be my special guest, because it will be nothing but judges, Supreme Court judges and all that, so they can see the injustice. Judges can sit there and meet you and say, hey, what's up?
Hey guys, hey, how you doing?
What's happening?
Okay, there she goes.
I'm out here in Harlem, USA, hanging out with you, Steph, and the boys.
Yes, great.
So every Sunday, a spot in Harlem, that's between 112th and 113th on Frederick Douglass Boulevard, titled The Park 112. They are honoring individuals who are influential New Yorkers.
Great.
So today is their first event, and they are honoring the Central Park 5. And today happens to be the 26th year from the time that they were first arrested.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
how's the event going? Tell us a little bit about the event.
The event. Tell you about the event. The event is packed. I had to come outside. The event is packed to capacity. I don't think that the Park 112 anticipated for the amount of individuals to be in here. It is jammed packed.
Oh, that's
And
That's great.
a lot of people are out here to just give honor and homage to the Central Park 5. Very impressive.
Great.
That's a good problem to have. Not enough room. Usually you have things and there's
Too much
room and not enough
Right.
people. That's a good
Oh
problem to
no,
have.
no!
Not
This
enough
one
room.
is loaded.
Are all 5 of them there?
The third one just got out of a limo. The other two, Kevin and Yusef, are here already. I met Yusef's mom
Okay.
a few minutes ago.
Okay.
She just showed up. Kevin's fiance is also here with him, and a couple of reporters are here as well, and radio hosts. So I'll be here chilling.
Well, we appreciate you for
Thank
holding
you.
it down, and Sister Cynthia, wherever there is an injustice, she is there on the front line.
All right.
A lot of people talk it. You may not see her much in Westchester, but she's all over the place, everywhere, marching with the Gardner family, whatever, shutting down bridges, doing die-ins
That's
in
right.
Central Park.
That's right.
Central,
In fact, I'm
Central
leaving
Station.
from here. I'm gonna leave from here, take off my heels, and put on my sneakers to go to a meeting down on 86th Street for stop mass incarceration. So
Great.
I'm heading down there. in a few
Well, if we're still on the air, call us from down there, brother. Oh man, the brother that's in charge of that.
Oh, you talking about who's down with it, Francois?
No. There's another. There's another.
Steve?
No. Oh Jesus. Well, if I get his name, I'll text it to you.
Text it to me.
Please reach out to him. We got to get him on the show.
Okay.
We definitely got to get him on the show.
And please
Okay.
take plenty of pictures, and we want to post this up on the site. So
All right. Talk to y'all later.
Thank
All
you for
right.
representing.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Have a good one. And
take
what's
care.
up and hi to everybody that's in there. See y'all
All
later.
right.
All right.
Thank you. Now, Juanita, let's back up. Let's back up because I mean, we're still waiting for the superintendent call in. We're still waiting for the author to call in. We're still waiting to find out the name of this brother's book.
And if Marcus Griffin is going to show up.
Yeah. Well, and if Marcus Griffin is going to show up. Anyway,
Yes.
but the last time you was on here, you had a poverty rally
Yes.
in White Plains. And only one elected official showed up, and she showed up close to the end. What has gone on since then?
Yeah, a lot actually. So we launched our People's Agenda that focused on access to truly affordable housing, fair chance hiring practices more around ban the box, and educational opportunities for all. So focusing on funding for after-school programs and child care subsidies. So after that rally happened, we were steadily up at the county legislative building every Monday when they have like their open, their board meetings. And CVH members would go up there and talk about the importance of having funding for after-school programs and child care funding because last year was a budget season. And in between those meetings, we were talking to different legislators on the Republican and the Democratic side. So, that one legislator that came to the rally, we have been developing a really good relationship with her to actually put these issues out on the forefront. And along with that, still in the process of developing other relationships with other legislators. So while we were successful in winning close to $1 million for after school funding and child care subsidies and a position to help parents know about their different options for child care providers, what paperwork they need to fill out in terms of subsidies and things like that, we know that was one piece of a larger puzzle, right? Because every other year is a budget year, so we know every other year we're going to be fighting for funding, but the in-between years we're going to still have to be making that case of why there should be more money added to subsidies for after-school programs and child care funding. And from there, we're still working on that, but what we've been seeing now around the county has been a lot of code enforcement violations for housing. And so we have families literally in the two cities that where this was coming up a lot, in Yonkers and in Port Chester, seeing you have families living in below standard housing and still paying rent, like full rent, right? So you have, families living in both in the city and the town, squeezed into, small apartments, not appliances, but whatever repairs need to be done aren't being done. Very little, if any violations are made towards the landlord, if the landlord's able to pay it off, fine, and have to fix whatever up, but we don't know what happens if they don't fix it up.
Right.
Because a lot of the residents that live in those apartment buildings, right, are low-wage workers or low-income individuals who found this housing because that was all they could afford.
Right.
And again, you have not major developers, but you have bad landlords, as we're calling them, that are just making lots and lots of money off the backs of low-income folks.
What do you call them?
Slumlords.
Slumlords, yeah. See, I'm trying to be not bad landlords. No, slumlords.
Slumlords.
That's what they are. That's what they
let's
are.
not dress it up.
No, let's not. It's slumlords, and it's sad because we've heard stories from different families that are like, I'm not paying this rent because I haven't seen any of these repairs done. They're going through housing court, and if you're lucky enough to get a good sympathetic judge that will work with you, great. If you don't, you're either being told, well, pay it or leave. And I'm sorry, we live in Westchester County. There is no such thing as affordable housing. Truly affordable housing, not market rent, not mixed income housing, affordable housing that you can afford within your income bracket, which leads to, the conversation around wages.
Now, let me ask you something totally. In Mount Vernon, they're trying to build nothing but affordable housing. That's not good either, right?
Right. It depends on the income levels, right? So
you can't that's all you're building is affordable housing.
Right.
You're not building
nothing else.
Affordable housing.
Right. So there's that balance, right? Do you make all affordable or low income housing, or do you make all luxury housing, right? And the things that we always say at CVH is look at the area that you're building. Look who's actually in that area. Look who wants to stay in that area. And if you have dilapidated housing, why isn't the same zeal and zest to fix that as there is to build new luxury apartments.
Absolutely.
Right, but
Right.
when you have, and I think that's what the basis of the lawsuit. When you have pockets of
Speaking to the
where,
mic.
oh, I'm sorry. When you have pockets of areas, especially where people of color live, and when you have a city like Mount Vernon that houses 28% of all people that receive any type of social services, I mean, isn't that enough for that area? You know, and why isn't it spread out throughout Westchester County? And because that's why the taxes are so high, and that's why there is a flight of those who own homes. They're leaving because they can't afford. There's no services that are coming in. Now, even though we fight for affordable housing throughout Westchester County, and every town should have their fair share of balancing the burden, you know, but it shouldn't be on a 4x4 square mile land.
Correct.
And they're not getting any money in.
Right.
See, there's no money.
So there has to be a balance.
Right.
And I think one of the things that we've pushed in some of the cities where we've been doing some housing work has been, you know, there's a lot of vacant property, right? Or a lot of abandoned property or dilapidated property, but no one ever thinks about, well, why don't we get an organization similar to Habitat for Humanity to come in and actually do something with these properties so individuals can move in from communities.
Right.
Like that's a piece of housing that we don't talk about, right? And I totally hear you about having services that people can use in cities and in towns where there seems to be a lot of affordable housing.
Like daycare. I mean, you know.
Like everyone, you know, a lot of people are needing daycare right now. You know, black, white, brown, whatever the situation is, at all income levels. But when we hear subsidies or anything public, we automatically think, oh, it's for people that don't work, or oh, it's only for people of color. No, actually, it's not. I was talking to friends of mine that have kids, and the amount that they pay for childcare.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I'm like, so those are 2 mortgages? Like, I don't understand this right about now.
Right.
And some of the churches are charging outrageous prices. Somebody was on here talking about what the church charges
for childcare. Childcare providing, yeah, because a lot of churches or nonprofits have childcare centers within their institutions.
And the people that in the city can't even afford to go send their kid for childcare to the churches. So, I mean, that's a whole nother story. I was getting ready to get into something. Let's go to the caller, because I was crazy.
We have 2 callers on the line. Caller from the 347 area code. Say your name and your comment, please.
Hey, my name is Kung Lao. I'm from New York City. I'm actually from the Bronx. I want to listen to the King of Steak, KOS.
Yeah, that's the you're about an hour late for that show, my brother. You're calling in for Epic Team.
Yeah. I still want to hear him. Play him after this, right?
Yeah,
that show's ended, my brother. That's what I'm saying. That show ended.
Up. Support KOS. Please, thank you.
All right, thank you, brother. Have a good day.
We got a caller from the 908 area code.
This is Ken Hamilton calling in, Superintendent of Mount Vernon City School District.
Hey, sir, how are you doing, Mr. Hamilton?
Welcome. Round of applause.
Thank you. I'm outstanding. Thank you.
First, let me say, thank you for inviting us to cover, you know, the reception and the play. I think it was well put together and it was a class act. I really appreciated that.
Thank you. I'm just leaving the final production. Literally just pulled out of the parking lot, and it was just extraordinary to see the talent that is in Mount Vernon City School District.
Absolutely. I know you mentioned at the VIP reception, you said I think they purposely had you not watching the performances until the first performance, the first time actually seeing it. And what was your feedback from watching it?
I was blown away. I knew that Mrs. Collins, our director, she has extensive experience with stage and theater production, but I was just blown away at the talent, and under such a short period of time, too, frankly, that she was able to get the kids prepared for such an exceptional production. Blown away.
Now I know. I think you were just appointed in August of last year. Is that correct?
That is correct. I started August 1st of last year.
Now, taking over this position, let's speak. What were some of the biggest challenges you've seen going on within Mount Vernon School District? That and what have you been able to do, if anything, so far?
Well, there's several things that have been major priorities for me, frankly, and I've uncovered a lot of things that have just fallen by the wayside. So many of our buildings are in terrible disrepair. Not to mention our graduation rate is deplorable. Only 47% of our children completed high school. Just some extraordinary circumstances that need immediate attention. And my focus really has been on restoring the confidence in the public school system in Mount Vernon.
Okay.
The years of neglect and the underachievement of our students has resulted in mistrust from the public and lack of confidence from the public in the quality of our schools. That's been a huge issue for me.
And that's good. And I would say for the people that's listening, and you got a chance to speak to them, what would you say to them, about what you'd like to change or what you want to see change under your administration?
Well, we really have to work on improving the quality of education in our school district and instilling a sense of pride for our students and our citizens and being responsible stewards over public school dollars. And a lot of these efforts are underway. We've revamped our curriculum. We've put a lot of time and effort into retraining some of our teachers on early intervention strategies so that we're identifying youngsters who have learning difficulties early on rather than waiting until they get in third and fourth grade, where oftentimes that gap is so wide it's almost impossible to close. Looking very specifically at what children need in order to complete their high school experience and bringing back some of the things that the district lost, specifically career and technology, so that our youngsters have another pathway to college and the workforce, and bringing back the arts and our guidance counselors. These have been things that we've already started doing, and repairing our buildings.
Okay. Someone that knew that you were going to be on the show wanted me to ask you a question, and I don't know about, so what I'm speaking about I don't know, so I'm asking. They said, I guess for average family, whatever tax they pay, that would be for 2 children. So when you got houses on the south side that have 3 families in one house, but they're only paying taxes for 1 family, that hurts the school. Can you speak about that? I don't know much, but someone wanted me to bring this up.
Well, you don't get taxed by the number of people in the house, in your household, and in today's world, that's not uncommon for multiple families to live in one dwelling. It's very common, quite frankly, in all parts of the country, but that's not the way the tax base works. There's no difference in that in a family, parents who have 5 kids, and we educate those 5 kids, and they just pay the taxes that are on that particular property, versus a home where there's 1 child. You still pay the same, you still have the same tax liability. But that's just a formula that applies to public education all across the country. It's not an anomaly to Mount
Vernon. Dr. Hamilton, this is Damon Jones. I want to thank you for calling in. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
I saw a report from a senator, and she reported the increases of that I guess within the budget there were increases to school systems that were in her district as far as monies coming from the state. Did Mount Vernon receive any increases, I guess, from the state in this last budget that was passed?
In layman terms, yes, but
Okay.
in reality, the state has been deducting money that they owed us. But this year, for the next school year, they deducted less. So in essence, we got an increase, but it's only because the state is taking less from us. But ultimately, it does help support our budget. It does help support the programs and initiatives that we want to bring back to the district to improve the quality of education in Mount Vernon.
Great. Now, can you explain when people are listening and they said the state? Did you say the state deducted money that the state owed Mount Vernon?
Yes, the state, to balance its own budget, it took money from public schools, not just Mount Vernon, but all.
Okay. Okay.
But okay, now and the reason, and I wanted to speak on that too. I pulled up the article Damon was talking about, and what was reported: Yonkers received a $19.6 million increase. White Plains received a $1.9 million increase. New Rochelle received a $3.9 million increase. Scarsdale received $477,721. So, but you're saying Mount Vernon didn't really get an increase; they just deducted less from us.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And is that based on? Sorry, I just jumped in.
This is
asking
Juanita
questions.
Lewis from Community Voices Heard.
Sorry. So the question I had was that also based on like this weird different formula that the state has and how they calculate which school districts get particular types of funding? Yeah.
Exactly. There's a formula that the state uses to calculate, and nobody really understands that formula, quite frankly. I don't even know if the state does. But the bottom line is Mount Vernon has been grossly underfunded for the last several years. In fact, Mount Vernon is one of the school districts that's involved in the small city lawsuit against the state to restore the funding that the children in Mount Vernon are due. And I actually gave testimony in that case recently. So Mount Vernon, if we got all the money that the state owed us over the last 6-7 years, it would be close to $70 million.
Oh my goodness!
Say that's 70, right? 70 million, you said, right?
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
And okay, and you said I guess you testified. I guess they had state hearings on this.
Yes, there's I provided testimony in Albany. There were several superintendents. Mount Vernon was the last district to testify, and of course the state has its defense witnesses as well to present the other side of the equation that Mount Vernon receives sufficient money to educate its children. So, we'll see how the judge decides, but I think we were able to present a very compelling argument because there's a sociology of poverty that is very specific to children who live in cities where poverty is prevalent, and those children need more than children who live in communities where they don't have to deal with the sociology of poverty.
Let me ask you a question now. For people that's listening, say the residents of Mount Vernon, is there anything that the average resident can do? I don't know, speaking to a congressman, I don't know, whatever. Is there anything that the residents can do to change this?
You got to use your voice, and we're very much engaged in trying to get our community involved in public education. Yes, reaching out to your senators, your assembly people, letting them know what your thoughts are, letting them know about what needs to happen in Mount Vernon, the programs that have been cut. It's almost criminal when you think about it. It's really a social justice issue when you think about the fact that there are so many things that children in other communities like White Plains, for example, things that they enjoy that our children lost in the process. And when they graduate, however, they're still expected to compete against these other children for jobs, college seats, and scholarships.
Right. Right.
Well, I just want to say real quick, I spoke to your assistant, Ken Silvers, earlier today, and I've been talking to Brenda Crump. I would like to work with you as Black Westchester on anything, as the editor-in-chief, on anything we can do to get your message out to the residents.
Right.
Well, I appreciate that. One of the things that we have in our budget is a division that we're adding to the organization called Family and Community Engagement.
Right.
And everything we know about school districts that have been turned around, they've been able to do so by getting their parents involved and engaging members of their community. Not just, even if you don't have children that's coming to our school district, being a citizen in Mount Vernon, you have a vested interest because when our schools are better, your property values go up. When your property values go up, it makes for a better community all the way around.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I totally agree.
I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. We were talking about the graduation rate, and because they don't have any children in Mount Vernon, they said that's not their problem. I said it could be their problem when they're elderly, and these people that don't graduate are knocking them upside their head and robbing them. So it can be your problem if you don't get involved now.
Absolutely.
But Dr. Hamilton, we definitely thank you for calling in, and we thank you for the information that you've given to us. And if you another day that you have more time, we would like to bring you on the show so we can really get in depth, because I think what you're talking about that's going on in Mount Vernon is definitely going on in black communities throughout the nation as far as education. And I think we could try to create the conversation by using this show and having it on video so people can actually watch and see and really understand the state of emergency. And just like you said, this should be a social justice issue, because it's affecting a certain group of people, and the outcome is that we're not able to compete, when it comes to jobs and financial stability. So I thank you again for really letting people know what's really going on, instead of some people, they look at Mount Vernon or they look at communities of color and say, well, they just can't learn, the kids are just dumb. But it's the system. Me and Cynthia spoke. Matter of fact, when you had one of the forums there, Benyamin, and we was talking to some kids in the English class. Okay. And Cynthia's a teacher. She's a vice principal in the Bronx, and she was like, if this is an English class, why I see no English books? And it was really shocking. I was like, oh my God, there's no English books in the English class. So these are the things that people don't see, and then people judge us, because sometimes our kids are not doing well. Right.
I'll be glad to come in and come to this station and talk about any topic related to public education.
Great.
Absolutely.
I'm passionate about it, and I look forward to it.
And again, anything we can do to help get your message out, help put together a forum for the community, anything like that, please, Brenda has my number, Ken has my number, please don't feel free to call me anytime.
Right, and send us any email blasts that you want to get out, what's going on in the school system. Send it to us, and we'll send it out, and we'll post it on the online on the website, and we'll also announce it on the show. It's not a problem.
Sounds great. I appreciate the partnership. Thank you very much.
Well, we have one more question for you.
One thing I would like to say to the superintendent, this coming Sunday, we're going to be having a conference on us coming together to try to end the violence of the youth in Mount Vernon. Mm-hmm. And we definitely would like to invite you to come. It's going to be from Hartley Park, the march to City Hall. And after we get to City Hall, we're going to have the conference right in City Hall. So if you have the time on Sunday, it's going to start at 2:30. And if you have the time, that would be great if you could come through.
And that's Mr. Benyamin Bridges that's speaking.
Right.
Oh, very well. Good. Good to hear that. Thank you so much for the invite.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Just enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Thank you for calling.
All right. Be well. Bye-bye.
That's our new superintendent of the Mount Vernon School District. From what I hear, he's actually doing some stuff to turn around. He inherited a lot. That's what I want to say first, because when you see somebody new, like the President of the United States, they thought all of a sudden the country was just going to turn around. Mm-hmm. He's inheriting a lot. So he can't do this by himself, and I'm speaking to anybody in Mount Vernon, he needs our help. So we have to get behind him, we have to support the school, and we have to do what we can. If you're not part of the problem, the solution, you're part of the problem. So we can sit there and continue to complain about the violence. We can sit there and complain about the poverty. We can complain about the joblessness. We all, as adults, have to get involved for our children. So that's what I want to say. So let's support him. Well, we will be taking our forum to do what we can do.
I not just Mount Vernon. See,
Well, I was talking about Mount Vernon because he's the Mount Vernon.
No, and I understand that too. But on the bigger scale, when we're all black people, it is what it is. I mean, and Mount Vernon, whether the leaders in Mount Vernon recognize it or not, as Mount Vernon goes, so does Black Westchester go. Meaning, it is the mecca for black people. It represents it represents something that black folks in Westchester have not realized yet. You understand what I'm saying? We could change what we're talking about here. Poverty. We're talking about housing. We're talking about, look at Atlanta. The mayor the mayor of Atlanta made so many millionaires out of Atlanta that all the cities outside of Atlanta flourished.
Right.
You understand? See, we got to understand our responsibility as a black-run government. That is just not, Mount Vernon is just not for the people in Mount Vernon. It's for black people throughout Westchester County.
Exactly.
It's an example.
Right, it is an example, and everything can come out. If Mount Vernon it was growing like New Rochelle or Yonkers, the money that could come out to help other black communities throughout Westchester County. See, we're not even thinking on that level to the responsibility that we have as black leaders, as black politicians. We're not thinking on that level, and until we begin to think on that level, I mean, we could stop poverty, and because poverty is only in our communities.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? You have white people that
rural poverty, and
right.
you
do. You do, but I mean,
you don't hear about it as much.
You don't hear about it, and they don't talk about it that much, and I can't, I'll help a white person that's impoverished, but I'm like, well, how are you poor? Because the thing, the system is stacked up for you. It's not the system is not built for us. The system is not built for us. And Paul Mooney made a joke about it. He said, man, he says that's a waste of white skin because you could do whatever you want. Because of your color, you could walk in and get a job, and have a felony before a young black man with a master's degree because of your color.
Yeah.
Because of your color. We should not be afraid to be black.
Absolutely.
Well, I think one of the other things too, my brother, is that the opportunity is there for us. And I think the superintendent said it well. The only way that we can really accomplish some of the goals that we really want is if the community comes together to do so.
That's right.
And that's where our power lies. Because if you look back in the 60s, so many things were changed, but it only happened because we came together and moved together as a people to do something. Now things are like so individualized with each person, that it's hard to bring people together as it used to be.
No, and you're right. We that's this person that's all right. Well, that's South Side. No, I mean we're so split into tribes. Even in politics. Oh well, you're an independent. So what? I'm catching the same hell you catching as a Democrat, or a Republican. I'm catching the same hell. So why can't we work together? For the common cause. Exactly. Why do you have to use political gangbanging? Because that's all it is. It's just you throw a label on a person. No matter what the good work that the person has done, you put a label on them, and some people gravitate to that label or step away because you put that label on them. But we all fighting. We supposed to be all fighting the same fight, but we're not. And now you're seeing. The fruit of our inactivity. Yeah. And then nobody wants to be responsible for it.
Right.
I mean, it's interesting because, we talk a lot about what does it mean to build power, right? And so we do this exercise around selfish, it's all about me. Everything's right with me. There's something wrong with you. And then you got selfless, right? There's something wrong with me. So the only way that I can be better is by helping you, so people overdo it. And then you have self-interest, right, which is my interest amongst others. And we, unfortunately, as a society now, are in those two camps of selfish and selfless. Right. And just to think about how my interest relates to your interest and others and others and others to really change what we want to change, that's why we have the issues that we have right now, right? That's why we don't have people coming around a real agenda around housing or a real agenda around violence. And that's the thing, right? There are many more people that are at the bottom that are impacted by these things than at the top who are calling all the shots. But because we see that figurehead and this billionaire and millionaire, oh, we're like, oh, they have all the power. Yes, it looks like it because they have all this money, because organized people and organized money is power, but they're using their money to organize people, and their self-interest is very clear, right? We need to get clear about what we're trying to do in our communities and relate our interests with other people to really make change.
Right. Now, you said, why can't we have organized people and organize our money and get power? I mean, what
real.
you know? I mean, what is the problem for us to do it? And we don't even have to be rich.
Right.
You know, it's like I say, if we get 3,000 average folks, just average folks. I'm not talking about making 100,000. Maybe 65, 75, 85,000, right? 3,000, and everybody putting $1 a month. Right? That's $3,000 a month. You know, we could move politically with that $3,000 a month and mobilize and put our own people in office that's going to represent our interests. Because clearly, and I'm not saying anybody, but if the rock hits you, our black elected officials are failing us.
Exactly, unfortunately.
I mean, come on. Where is the pushback on these issues from especially our black elected officials? Where's the pushback? You know, I mean, if we only have from the state or from county and state, right? What you looking at? 5, right? If that, they're elected by black constituents, right? Well, yeah, majority of them.
Yeah, I'm just trying to count the black electeds in the county and the city. Yeah, 7. Yeah. Well, for that represent Westchester.
Well, yeah, county.
Yeah.
I mean,
county and state. Yeah, 7.
Yeah, county and states. I think it's about 7.
7. Yeah.
Right. You know, and the majority of them come from black electorates. Maybe one, probably Andrew Stewart Cousins, probably have the most diverse. She probably has the most diverse district than any other ones. You know, and clearly, even though she has the most diverse, she has been probably the most straightforward than the ones that come from black electorates and really are not addressing the issues in the black community and really pushing back or giving the information to the black community to move forward.
Well, one thing, again, I got to repeat this again. The way, because what has happened right now is that many people in the black community have just, just looked away from getting involved in the political game because they've got handed, what would you say, sour grapes too many times. So now they're like saying, look, I don't even want to be involved with this. But what has to happen, we need to start a movement. The only way the movement's going to start is if you can get the confidence of the people to say, this brother that's running is for real and we really need your help. This official right here is already in office and we really need to re-elect them because look at their track record. Right. You know, you got to show them that there's some realness involved with this because they've seen the other side of the coin where it's like so much corruption and phoniness involved that it's, they feel it's a waste of time. But that's the move, man.
But what if they don't have a track record?
If they don't have a track record and this is their first time up the bat, brother.
But what if they've been up the bat a couple of years, 20 years, 15 years?
Hey, all I can say is one thing, man. We got to get the confidence of the people back on the table, brother.
You know that. See, that's what I'm saying. I mean, when you look at our communities, I mean, it didn't. I mean, Mount Vernon didn't. It just didn't happen in a vacuum. You know, there were systematic policies that were in place that made Mount Vernon the way it is. Exactly. It was systematic policies that was in place that bribed black people on 119 in Greenburgh to sell all their property and to build that mall, that strip mall. You understand what I'm saying? For businesses until that my aunt, the World of Beauty, is the only black owned property on 119 today. Everything else is gone. When that whole strip used to be black businesses, it was systematic. There was systems that was put in place, and there was black politicians that were elected when these systems was put in place. Michelle Alexander speaks the same thing in her book. Over the 30 years of all these laws and legislation that was passed throughout the justice system, we had black judges, we had black elected officials, we had black commissioners. So when do we say, when do we say we're going to elect people that's going to fill the gap when these issues come up and going to speak out the issues, for the people, or are they just going to worry about, getting reelected, or have we been dumbed down as a people, to just vote because that person is a Democrat or that person is a Republican? Like how the hell did Janet get elected again?
Well, it's interesting.
See, these are that's we have to ask, because we go vote.
Yeah, we have to ask those questions, and I think you talked about it a little bit, right, Damon? Like about systems, because that system's been in place. It's been in place way before a lot of us were around or even thought. And even though you're electing someone, that person is playing in that system, right? So no matter who I get to sit in that seat, whether they look like me or not, they're a part of this system. And what we don't do a good job of, right, is really talking about, let's do the history of the electoral system, right, about voting. Black people were not thought of when that system was created.
No,
right?
True.
So then we expect that system to be fair. Why would it be fair when it was not? We weren't thought about. The judicial system, same thing. Education, all these different systems that were put in place. And if we, like as a community, as organizations or whatever, as politically minded leaders, we're actually talking to people around, like, this is what the system is, right? Yes, we understand what the system is, and we want people who would potentially represent our interests, but we also have to hold them accountable once they're in that system. And then the ones that are good, right, or have the opportunity or the potential to be good, we have their back when they're doing stuff. Because there have been way too many city council meetings I've been to that have only had 5 people in them. Right? And I'm like, okay, so where are the people on this particular issue? Oh, I was too busy. Oh, whatever. When it's crisis time, then you have the panic calls. You got to turn out. You need all these people. By that time, the decision has been made. Oh, we were sold out. Oh, whatever. But wait, there were 10 meetings prior to that where we could have been present, right? And called out how these conversations were happening behind closed doors, how they weren't inclusive of community, all of these different things. And so that's the stuff that we talk about at CVH, and that's the kind of stuff that we talk about with other folks around. Let's start looking at these systems and who's playing in them. And there was a leader in another organization that we do a lot of work with called Vocal that said, look, if we want to change the players, change the players.
Right, and I mean no, and that's right, and that's what I'm saying.
But hold them accountable once you change them, though.
Absolutely.
No, right? Because see, what we do is we build we get the player, right, and then we build the machine behind the player. Then once the player gets in, the machine that put him in falls apart.
Right.
We have to build a machine, and the machine stays running. And the message is, if you do not hold your responsibility, the same way we put you in is the way that we put you out.
Exactly.
And we have to, Dr. Laura Fanani always say, understand the political process.
Yes.
We have to educate ourselves on the political process and be a part of the political process. But also, we have to be diverse enough that the Democrats can't always be so arrogant that we're going to vote for them. And I'm not saying run into the Republicans, but I'm because what has Cuomo done? You understand what I'm saying? Because see, you got the Congressional Black Caucus that voted against demilitarizing the police department, but yet after their vote before the midterm election, they're out hitting people in the head. You got to go vote because of Ferguson. But wait a minute, you voted against one of the pieces of legislation that would help in situations like Ferguson.
Including the representative for that.
But
area.
from that represented Ferguson, right? So, but then now you turn around and say, well, black people got to go to the polls because of Ferguson. No, don't play us. Don't play us as being stupid because that's what I think you're doing now. You know, and Cuomo hasn't done anything, you know, to address the issues that are in the black community. You know,
Has he been pushed to do that though?
Well, that's another thing.
But that's another thing.
Right.
See what we have to build that machine to push them, and build that machine to so the message that you might not be a third-time governor. Not that we're supporting the Republican Party, but maybe we just might not support you.
You know what's interesting? You know, after last year's elections, we were looking at voter turnouts and all these different things because you know everything was during the midterms. Everyone was like, "Oh, so sad. Oh, whatever. Oh, you know, New York State is whatever." And we're like, it's not that shocking. The voter turnout was so low; it was the same as what the numbers were in the Depression era.
Right.
For what area?
So if you look at New York State was the same turnout rate, and also across the country, if I remember correctly, that like the same turnout was for the Depression.
Now was this the midterm?
So like 30-something%.
So this included the governor's race?
Yeah, last year's race.
What about on a more local level?
On a more local level, if I remember correctly, pulling number, 2013, I was just looking at a couple of cities and towns. Out of, let's say, we'll just use Mount Vernon, for example, right? And I believe Mount Vernon had, I forget how many registered people, but of the number of people that were registered to vote in 2013's election, so it was the county executive and all of that, only, and I'm bad at math, a third of the people who were registered to vote came out to vote.
So a third of the registered voters.
Yeah.
You know,
it was about a third or a fourth.
That's
so
a
it was still
message.
Right. That because again, if you're looking at issues of childcare, which is a county issue.
Caller, please hold. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so a county issue or anything that could probably translate into some state issues. Because remember, all of these elections build on each other. Local elections set up what people are going to do for national elections. And it's a practice, right, for other elections to come. So people who are running for local elections this year are going to look at, oh, this is interesting. So in 2010 or 2012, this person voted like this. But in local elections, this person voted like another thing. So it's just interesting.
I think we got my brother Dwayne Brown from the Mount Vernon Chamber of Commerce on the phone.
A friend of the show. He loves calling in.
You got call ID over there. Don't change my number.
We do.
When I was talking, I said, I think I recognize the number, and I had to pull out my phone to see who it was. I'm gonna be real. Before you go, I just want to say one thing to Juanita. I actually had a politician in Mount Vernon, and we're not gonna throw him under the bus today.
Well,
today.
I'll throw him under.
No, not today. We're not gonna do it. But he actually said that there's a formula because there's only a certain amount of people that vote in Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
And the people in the power, they know that formula.
Yep.
And they just work on that group. So
Right.
that means, for God forbid, anybody else who's not, all the people they're not trying to register new people
Or
No.
turn people out who don't vote.
No. We hold on, Dwayne. When have you seen a voter registration drive sponsored by the Westchester Democratic Party?
Hello.
Everybody's silent. Like,
Well, no, because
when have you seen one? Because they don't do it.
Right.
Because they keep the status quo. They know that if they get all these young people in, right, they might not vote for the people that they pick for.
Might turn the tide.
They might turn the tide.
Actually, they will.
Right, they will.
Because that's what got Obama in, the infusion of young
Right.
voters.
When have you seen the
Or
Democratic Party
non-voters.
do a registration
Non-voters.
drive for people in Mount Vernon?
And it's interesting because even when I was looking at those numbers, the amount of people who were registered, which is a good amount of people, that don't come out to vote. And I think
Right, that's the other side.
it's the two piece, right? So yes, I want to register you, but I need to follow up with you to make sure you're at the polls.
Absolutely.
And that's
Right.
where the ball is always dropped.
And I'm glad
Well,
my brother Dwayne.
hey,
called
Dwayne.
me.
Yeah.
We've actually been having this conversation over the last 2 weeks about Black Westchester People for Politics working with the Mount Vernon Chamber of Commerce on voter registration in Mount Vernon. So I'm glad that you called.
Yeah, Welcome, and I thank everybody being on the show once again. You guys do a great job. Your two guests, and she's right. People need to vote. This is a very important election in Mount Vernon this upcoming summer, and you got to register as many people as possible and then not only register them, but like the sister said, follow through and make sure they register to vote, because a whole generation is being, it's controversial, so people sometimes get offended when you say controversial things, but it's the truth. A whole generation of Mount Vernon is, and me and you, they talk about this all the time. Absolutely. A family of 40, I'm from 40, I got four kids and a wife, so a family of 6, where do they go in Mount Vernon to spend their entertainment money?
You can't.
You can't.
There's nowhere.
You can't go to the movies. You gotta go to New Shell, Yonkers, or the Bronx.
Right.
You can't go bowling, roller skating. You can't even buy your daughter a prom dress in Mount Vernon. Dude, for real.
So economically, for the last couple of years, and then when you get older people in power, and I'm not saying they do this on purpose, because I catch myself doing this sometimes. I don't care what a 17-year-old go through. I'm worrying about me right now. So sometimes you can't put yourself in a different generation shoe because you in your own generation. I think our generation, pretty much everybody I see on the panel today, is a generation that's almost been forgotten, because I don't see a plan in Mount Vernon for this generation. They're building these homes up, and that's great, these new buildings, but the people are not going to spend their entertainment money in the city. So we don't get their entertainment money, we don't get their clothes money, we don't get their leisure money. So
you can't take your wife and kids out to eat. There's no Olive Garden or Fridays or
there's no entertainment money.
Want to go to the Popeyes and they gave us Popeyes and Checkers.
There's no entertainment money in Mount Vernon. That's a fact. People can say, "Oh, Dwayne, what are you talking about?" If you prove me wrong, I will argue it and we can figure it out. The government and whoever's in charge over the years didn't forecast. Well, what are we going to do with a generation that's going from 20 that's going to be 40? When I left high school 20 years ago, I was 20. Now that I'm 40, going to be 40 this summer, that our whole generation in Mount Vernon was forgot about. And it's proof. It's not something that I'm just making up because we don't have anything to do for 40-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? You can't take your wife out to a nice restaurant. And I know there's Maggie's, there's Steamhouse. Yes, all those wonderful places are there. But I don't want to go there all the time. You know what I mean? So there's no diversity. There's no, we just need more. So people got to vote this upcoming election and really engage. Who you vote for is your prerogative, like as Bobby Brown would say. Vote for who you want to vote for, but just vote. So that way, at least the person who won knows that people are watching, and the people who lose know that they got to come back stronger next time. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Right.
So we just gotta do that. And this is not even nothing to do with change. This is me growing up here, me having friends that they tell me off the record, yo, D, you rep Mount Vernon, but there's nothing for me to do here. So, and I'm telling them, no, that's not true. You can come do this, but it is true. There's no movie theater. There's no, like you said, there's no bowling alley. There's no game center. There's no field to run around in. There's no, and we can go on and on and on and on. So I think the politicians need to really listen to the people more. But the people got to speak up, because if you don't speak up, then they get away with it, man. They get away. They can shun us as being angry. Anytime you speak up as a black man, you're the angry black man. And then when you don't say nothing, you're the black man that don't care. So I don't know which one I'm supposed to be, the angry black man or the one that don't care. Because I'm lost. When I say something, Dwayne's just angry and black. When I don't say nothing, you don't care. You're being complacent. Yeah, you don't care. You know what I'm saying? So I think people got to stop talking out of the side of their mouth and just talk to people straight up. Straight up.
Like, Dwayne, I want you to stay on. We got another caller from the 646 area code. State your name and your comment, please. Caller from
comment. Name, Andre Wallace. How are you guys?
Hey!
I hear Dwayne on the radio show.
Yeah, Dwayne's here.
Dwayne's on, yes.
Yeah, well, I'm listening to what Dwayne says, which is really cool. But what I'm finding out as I'm listening to this show and the conversation, it's like, you know, the same conversations that we always have, Dwayne, and everybody always have. But let me tell you something.
Make sure you're speaking to your phone because you're fading in and out a little bit.
Okay, I keep on saying the reason why things are not getting done. You can't sit back and blame our officials. We got to stop blaming our officials. We got to blame ourselves.
That too.
Yeah.
Okay, because I keep on telling everybody the same thing. You know, our silence grant permission to the things we find unacceptable, but yet we keep on accepting it.
Right.
We talk about it, but we're not doing enough about it. We got to all step up.
You're
And
right.
everybody got to come together and move forward and say, listen, we're not going to ask for our rights anymore. We're going to take them.
Right.
That's how you got to do it.
Well,
You know, you got to demand them.
Let me say something I want to say to Dwayne, but I say it to both of y'all. I want y'all to address this. There are a lot of people who actually have spoken up for a while, and then nothing has been done, and they're just beat down, and they have given up, and they're part of that number of registered voters who don't even turn up. They're registered and don't even turn up. How do we reach them? How do we re-energize them? How do we regain them in the equation?
Well, one of the you got it. Like Andre said, "What's up, Dre? You're all over now, man. Congratulations on your announcement." But one of the things I think is like just getting out there and being in people's faces and just letting them know if they feel someone else believes, sometimes they will believe it. Just like a good coach, man. You know, you just got to go out there and walk the streets and lead by example, like Andre was saying. You know, if people see you doing it, then they'll be inclined to say, well, if Dwayne can do it, Andre can do it, Black Richards can do it, then maybe I can do it. You know what I mean? So it's just us leading by example. I mean, there's really no other secret formula to me, rather. Just lead by example.
You wanted to address it.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to say is, like, even if you just look at an example of China, right? It's interesting how, you know, they had the royal family there and everything that dominated and controlled China for a good while, many centuries, right? But what ended up happening when communism came into play, it wasn't a huge amount of people that was the nucleus. I mean, believe it or not, it was only 8 people that started the revolution in China. So you don't have to have a lot of people, but the nucleus of whoever you have on the table has to be serious.
Yeah,
They can't be FBI, CIA members. They can't be Uncle Tom folks that'll sell you out in a minute.
That's right.
Yo, man, here's 10,000 if you just turn the whole thing over.
Right.
Okay. Right. So you got to have some serious people that really want the good for the people. Mm-hmm. And if you get those people, and if you go door to door, I mean, people are like waiting right now. I mean, let me tell you, there's folks in their living room, in their kitchen that have the same conversation every night with their family.
Right.
Mount Vernon is just sinking in quicksand, man.
Right.
And what we need to do is say, wait, it don't have to go down like this.
Absolutely.
If you play a part along with us, we can turn this thing around.
Right.
And if you tell people like that and then actually show them that this is real, and that I'm not just talking, and I'm not trying to get no money out your pocket. I'm talking about just come on and vote with us. Come out to some rallies. Come and show some support. And if you could get a movement going like that, brother, it's happening in other communities, and it can happen in ours. But the problem is it got to go from conversation and talk to people actually getting out there, knocking door to door and saying, yo, miss, this is the situation. We need your help. Brother, we need your help. You got to come out and when you go like that, man, and you're really sincere about it, and you got your nucleus of people working with you, it can happen, brother. I know it can happen.
I agree. If you build it, they will come. But at this point, because talking right now, people have had people blowing smoke up their ass for too long, and they've been hearing the same song and dance from different characters and different words for too long, and everybody was going to be about change, and ain't nothing changed, and we still in the same situation, even worse. So I think they actually need to see the action. So we got to actually go out. Like you said, if you build it, they will come.
You have to build it.
We got to go. The nucleus that we're building now, I think, is important.
You have
to
build it.
We need to strengthen it, and we need to continue to put in the work. You know what I'm saying? And put points on the board, and you know what I'm saying?
That's it.
And let me tell you, you know, when I ran for city council 2 years ago, and we were out getting the signatures for the Independence Party line, and it was amazing that the parents were Democrats. all their kids were independent. And when you sit and you talk to the kids, their whole face lit up that they were being part of the process. Just to sign the sheet, just to say that they was a part of it. I mean, one kid stood up, man, his chest, like he was so proud just to be a part of it, man. We have to re-engage the people, whether they're Democrats, Independents, Republicans, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you know, we all live in the city, and the city is catching hell. You know, so we have to engage. Everybody has to be engaged in it.
Exactly.
But we have to build that machine to say, hey, listen, we want to turn the corner on Mount Vernon. We want to turn the corner on Yonkers. We want to turn the corner on Greenburg, White Plains, Peekskill, Austin, Port Chester. We want to turn the corner, and it's not a Mount Vernon problem. It's not a Yonkers problem. Right. It's not a Greenburg problem. It's a Westchester problem. Exactly. You know, and we have to work to that, but we have to build that machine, and for wherever we're at, you know, that's the base of operation. We in Mount Vernon, then you know we work in Mount Vernon, but connect with the people in Port Chester, New Rochelle, and all that. We have to start creating these networks. You know, the thing that you're doing, Benyamin, bringing attention to what's going on, you know, by marching and then having a rally. And guess what? We need to be there taking names, email addresses, numbers, and having voter registration cards. If you're not registered to vote, register right now.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I don't have a felony. Well, I have a felony. Are you on probation? No. Are you on parole? No. You can vote.
Yep.
See, these young brothers don't even know that because the party's not even telling them that.
And we just learned because of our mayor, because I had to look it up. If you got a misdemeanor, even if you are on probation or parole, you can vote.
Right.
Because our mayor is, you know, he convicted of a misdemeanor. And we was just going to make him say, how can you be mayor and you can't vote in the election? He can actually vote.
Right. Well, that was the deal. So if he could run again, he could run.
So I'm just saying, for those who even have a misdemeanor, thinking, well, I can't. If you have on probation or on parole with a misdemeanor, you can vote.
There shouldn't be one function that we do in Westchester County that doesn't have voter registration cards. I spoke at Westchester Community College to the Black Student Union. They had the Westchester Community College Political Action Committee and the Latino Student Union. I registered 15 kids and gave out another 30 voter registration cards to kids.
Oh yeah.
So this is what we have to do. We have to change the playing field. We have to and get young people involved. Everything that happened in the 60s didn't happen by old folks. It happened by young folks.
That's true. Because, if you watch Selma, John Lewis and them was the young
kids. Right. John Lewis was they were the young kids.
Yeah,
right. So we have to be the Martins and engage these young people and say, if y'all, and I told the cats from ET6 that was out there, if y'all want Mount Vernon to change, y'all have to do it. Right. Y'all have to. Yeah, I mean, it's good to talk about hip hop. It's good to rap and do all that stuff. But you better rap about voting.
Exactly.
You know, you better rap about getting out and taking your community back. And that's the conversation we gotta have. But we gotta have it even after Election Day. It just don't stop.
The thing.
Right. That's the big
this has
problem.
to be a continue. Because sometimes you do this in the election and it's over, and then you don't see them people no more, and ain't nobody still engaging you. You done built this army that got nothing to do.
Big mistake.
So now
that's huge.
So you now got rebels without a cause, and that's when they end up dealing with the situations you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? You got rebels without a cause. See, because they're rebels, but they don't have a cause.
Go ahead,
gentlemen, but you know what I still have to comment on? See, we have to also address the lack of education behind the whole thing.
Oh, true.
Just to say to someone that, hey, you need to register to vote. Yeah, but what are you voting for?
Right.
90% of the people I talk to don't even know what's going on, don't know the issues, don't know what you know, which way they're going to go. They have no clue. So if you don't educate them, they're going to vote on the guy that got the best looking haircut or the guy that looked the nicest suit, you know? But you have to be able to see.
So you might win hands down then.
No, but I don't want you to pay attention to me or vote for me because I got a nice suit on. I want you to vote for me because I understand what's going on and being able to educate you
Right.
on what's happening,
And that's
so
why
that you can make an educated decision.
And that's why as soon as you register people to vote, like you have to have a flyer and say, look, we're about to have a Civics 101 forum. So you learn about who, not even about the candidates, right? I'm not even going to go there, about the issues that are impacted in not just this election, but in all elections.
No, and
Yes.
you're 100, but that's part of the machine. The part of the machine
Yeah.
is educating the
Yes.
constituents, educating young people on the political process,
Or even
Not-
older folks, too. 'cause
Right,
this-
right, well, yeah,
But yeah.
because there's no more civics classes in high schools, so they don't get it. So we have to educate them on the political process and how the political process works, and how,
That's
like
true.
Malcolm say, and how politics affects your everyday life.
Yes.
Some people don't even get it, how the political, because they're so focused on Washington D.C. They don't even know that the laws that their city council, their mayor, their county legislator, their county exec is affecting their everyday life.
Right.
They don't get
In a
it.
huge
I just
way.
wrote
That's
about
right.
that. I just wrote about that on the site. Like, we're voting for a mayor this year. The mayor appoints all your commissions, your police commissioner.
There you go.
All your all these
Right.
things that affect you. Even
Every
the
day.
commissioner who deals with taxation and all that.
Right.
The building commissioner, he
Right.
appoints all the commissioners, and this shapes the quality
Right.
of life in your city.
Does the mayor also appoint the superintendent?
No,
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 no.
The
Okay.
superintendent
That's
by the board.
By the
But
board.
I did want to say that
Yeah.
and a lot of things we're talking about elections. There's the elections, the political elections, but coming up we got the school board election, which is a separate election.
Right.
And we need to, pay attention to Black Westchester. We'll be talking about it, but we need to be active and go out because
Yes.
these are the people who are dictating the policy on the school, on training our kids and teaching our kids.
Right.
So if we don't have people in there that care, then our kids are not learning. They're
That's
going,
it.
because you got teachers that just going to get a check. It's a job for them.
It's
I'm not saying all teachers,
Right.
but some it's just a job. Who said Lowes Moore when we were at his book signing? He said when we were in school, because he's a little older than me, but when we was in school, when the buses left, there were teachers still at the school for an hour and 2 hours after.
We were just talking
He
about
said
that.
right. He said right
Yeah.
now. He said the teachers are peeling out the parking lot before the buses leave. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That's a problem. You know what
That's
I'm
not
saying?
funny.
That's a problem.
It's a problem.
So,
Right.
so voting in these school board things is equally important. It shapes the minds and all of that stuff. So, we need to be actively involved in that. And,
Exactly.
and that's something I'm going to be harping on for a while. So,
Yeah,
know
some
what,
people don't know.
let's
I talk to people all the time, and they don't know that the school board takes up most of their taxes, and the mayor has no jurisdiction when he steps in the school building.
Right.
He has, he's second in command in every building that he steps into. I mean, the principal could literally tell him to step out the building if they wanted to. He couldn't do anything about it.
oh, so I need to be a principal. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
Well,
But
yeah.
I mean, people don't know that. You know what I mean? That superintendent
Well,
makes
that
twice
was
as much
a
as the mayor.
big that was a big last mayoral election. That was a big topic on the taxes and the money that was going to the school board. But also, I mean, you also got to look at the amount of kids that the Mount Vernon school system had in a 4x4 square mile radius. I mean, you also got to look at that, and you also got to look at that we, Mount Vernon, is not getting the money that's needed. I mean, the superintendent was on earlier. He said if they, I guess the lawsuit or the hearings that they're having to recoup the money that's owed, it will be close to $70 million
over the last 8 years.
over the last 8 years that Mount Vernon has been shorted. Not other school districts too, but we're
More
ta-
in Mount
right
Vernon.
we're talking about a city, that single parents, females average $45,000 a year, single male parents average $55,000 a year. 28% of all families living in social services. You're talking about a city that needs that money.
Yes.
You're talking about a city that's and a tax base that is small and that is beating the hell out of working families.
The homeowners.
That own homes.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, that $70 million, can do a lot for these kids.
And actually, what he said, they take more from Mount Vernon, and they give more to like the White Plains, but our kids need it more.
Or Scarsdale.
And Scarsdale than the White Plains and the Scarsdale. Mount Vernon needs it more. So.
Right. Well, and he put it right. He said this is a social justice issue.
Yes.
It's not an education issue. This should be put in a social justice issue.
Right.
But where, and I always go back. Where do we stand as a people of color in dealing with social justice and reevaluating our position in the political process? Because we're not getting anything. I mean, hey, look, even Minister Farrakhan is having a march on the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March because, and he's looking at politics. He's like, listen, if I brought 2.5 black men on the lawn, what can we do with 2.5 million votes? What power can we leverage with 2 point? Because people are understanding that the political process is flawed. I mean, it's flawed. We the
Every
only
other
people.
Group of people knows that about that.
Right, but we the only ones marching for jobs and justice.
Right.
Ain't nobody else marching for jobs and justice.
And to open a park.
Right. Wait, nobody. Right. Yeah, well,
Well,
but nobody else is marching for jobs and justice but us.
Right, and it all brings it back to one thing again: the machine. Once you get that machine, brother,
Right.
you have turned
But
the
guess what?
situation around.
The last person that tried to build the machine, they assassinated. That was Martin Luther King. They didn't assassinate him for having a dream. They assassinated him for building the beginning of building that machine, Operation Breadbasket.
Well, let's be real with that too. I think that's the hesitation on some people why it doesn't go beyond the talk. Because folks is like saying, well, what happened if I get out there and the community's not really behind me?
But you know what?
Well, I've been there before.
But you know what?
So it's not,
I feel like
no
that's
fun,
I
bro.
had a similar conversation, Damon, as the head of Blacks in Law Enforcement. And what I told Damon is he cannot continue to be the main one to speak. Because if they get rid of you, then they kind of shut down the movement.
Right.
We got to start elevating other people
Exactly.
in the Blacks in Law Enforcement.
Exactly.
So they are equally going out and being seen on TV. And,
Right.
and y'all get together, make sure your message is the same.
Mhm.
So now you're seeing various individuals.
Right.
Not, because everybody sees Damon.
Right.
Like, you see Damon on everything.
Mhm.
And this is not to call out anybody, because the Blacks in Law Enforcement, those are my brothers, I like them. But we need more of them to speak up. So,
That's the thing.
and we need more
Right.
Black law enforcement to speak up.
Right.
Every time there's a
Exactly.
situation like that, I know you're scared for your job and everything. You know what? And somebody asked me recently, are you scared when you write articles about the police commissioners and about politicians? Aren't you scared they're going to come at
Oh,
you?
yeah.
You know what? My response to all of that, because I've been asked that again yesterday, it can't no man do nothing to me that God does not allow.
That's
If
it.
God allows it,
That's it.
just like Daniel in the lion's den and the three Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace. If he allows it, he's gonna be in there with me to help me through it.
That's
so
it.
Can't no man do nothing to me that God doesn't allow. So, and the other thing I say to all those people, let's make it not one person. Let's all come up.
Right.
It's harder to, you know what I'm saying?
That's the whole.
Has to
that's
be
the
a
whole
group
thing.
effort.
Yeah,
Has
that's
to
the whole.
be.
Well, with your
Yeah.
Jesus hat, no one's going to do anything to you, so you're cool.
I know, right? That's very true.
He'll bounce him away with the Jesus hat.
Hey.
But no, you're right. It's all about building that power base to change things, and it is about making sure that it's not just one voice that you're hearing for an organization, a movement, or whatever. Because I think that's one of the things that happened as soon as Dr. King was shot. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, the movement's now dead," and no one knew. Okay, so who's gonna lead which piece of the movement?
And then what else you get? Then you get a couple of the people that are smaller try to come up, and
They went for self.
but they going in different directions.
Exactly.
They went.
Exactly.
If you pull up, it's the Martin Luther King, the archive website, and if you pull up the original letter that was sent out about the Poor People's Campaign, and you read one of the original letters, dude, it was like it was written yesterday. With all the issues that are in that letter. I was shocked because it's like we didn't go anywhere. We're still fighting the same fight. The same fight. He saw that in the '60s, and was trying to address it. Operation Breadbasket. They were making companies, and this is something. Andre, we're gonna have to sit down later. Dwayne, we all gonna have to sit down because what Martin did was Martin, through Operation Breadbasket, they sat down with the businesses and say, hey, listen, man, y'all guys, how many blacks y'all got? How much advertisement are y'all going to local Westchester media? You know, we don't see you advertising in the county press. You know, you're going to have to take out. They did it. And it wasn't about themselves. You know, it wasn't like some organizations you got now, they get checks, but nobody else get checks. They got Operation Back Pocket. See, that's the difference between breadbasket and back pocket.
Right.
No, but it's serious, because if you listen, if you watch what Martin did through Operation Breadbasket in creating that movement and bringing in finances from these companies that were getting money from black communities, you know, you have to give back, and we have to hold them. We have to hold them accountable for it, man. You got Correction Corp of America housing black men in private prisons throughout the United States. But how much money do they give to after school programs?
None.
Right. So I mean, so this is the thing, you know.
They don't want to build the after school program to build up the youth. They want to.
Well, I
want to prepare them to be new
I understand that.
Exactly.
No, I understand that.
Prisons are
I
business,
understand that. But y'all made enough money off of us now. Now it's time to give back. See, we need national leaders to talk like that. See, my problem is when I go to the National Network dinner, which I was at, and I see Mayor de Blasio, I see Governor Cuomo, I see the Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, I see all these people that can sign a law with a pen, right? And we can't get laws passed in Albany. There's a problem.
But they can come to your birthday party.
They can come to your birthday party. They can come to your function.
But you won't have this conversation with them when you have them.
Right.
I mean,
well, then one person said, well, if he was having that conversation, they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't have been at the party.
Well, Damon, obviously, if you guys would band together, and I'm not saying you guys are, people in general, if you want African Americans to band together, if they came together, you would be a force to be reckoned with by your voting power.
I know that.
See, but we don't do that. We look at it in this way where we all stay separate. If we come together and we say, hey, we got X amount of people that will vote for you, or we have X amount of people that can turn an election, I guarantee you every one of them would come with their gold pen to your neighborhood to sign whatever you need them to sign.
That's right.
And they would,
they're signing
so
with the people who put them in office need them to sign.
Right.
Because those people put them in
exactly.
office.
That's right.
But you know what? We put them in office without any demanding of anything. We just do it because we just want to be nice. You know, it's about time you have to turn around and you got to say, listen, this is what we need for our community, and this is what you need to do for us, and this is what we will deliver for you.
See, it's interesting because some of the things that we do at Community Voices Heard around holding elected officials accountable, we call like accountability sessions, right? So we have our demands already laid out and invite the elected official, the decision makers, and say, will you commit to this? We need this in our community. We demand this of you. And I honestly feel like we're one of the only groups that do that, right? You can still have a decent relationship with an elected official while still holding them accountable and saying, we need better for our community by you.
Even with the success you're getting,
I
still have a picture of your front row.
I know,
empty,
yeah.
And there's a front row that says reserved for county legislators.
And they didn't come.
And it was
but they're having
paper.
They're having something about they're having a forum soon. The county legislators is putting it together about families.
Family task force. Yeah. So we're on that task force, and that happened last week.
Now,
right?
What is that?
So
how did that work out?
So there's two. It's so funny. So there are two organizers that work at CVH here in Westchester, and she's staffing that particular committee and was heading that up because we realized, look, here is a committee made up of folks from across the county that's headed by Catherine Borgia, the one who came to our event, and
she was on the flyer.
Yep, she was on the flyer, and saying to county legislators saying there needs to be some type of like Westchester Families Bill of Rights, right? It's soft enough that you'll get input from different types of people, but with that, it's like, okay, here's the overall thing, And then organizations that do policy or legislative or advocacy work can come in and hit harder and say, remember, you said that you signed on to this legislative agenda or this family's Bill of Rights. This is how you have not lived up to that if you haven't done anything around it. So it's a double prong approach, right? But you also have to have people that are willing to stick their necks out and say, look, I'm willing to be nice, but I'm also willing to be a little mean when I have to.
Now, if this family's Bill of Rights, is that going to be voted on by the legislative body, or is just signed by elected officials?
So no. So the way that it's working is that you bring this forward to the Board of Legislators, and they actually would do legislation around it, right? Saying like,
so why don't they just create the legislation?
Because they have to be pushed to do so. Remember, like sometimes this is bad. Elected officials have to be pushed and forced to do that. But
I understand that.
But they're not going to do it automatically.
Yeah, but why have a Bill of Rights and then around that Bill of Rights have legislation? Just write the legislation, right? Mm-hmm. Get a legislator to sponsor the shit. Mm-hmm. And say, put it up.
I
didn't know. That's the point. And get them to sponsor it and put it up for a vote. Right. And put it up for a vote. Mm-hmm. and see who votes on it. See, because when you're doing a Bill of Rights and they're recognizing it, okay, yeah, they're recognizing it, but who's going to create the legislation?
So that's why working with that particular committee is a way of doing that, because you have the ear of the majority leader of the legislative body, and saying, okay, so you were part of this in this creation, you had community input. Elected officials always say, oh, we want to hear more from the community. Okay, so you have these forums.
I advise you.
What can the community do? People listening and people that will listen, because this will be broadcasted on Black Lives Matter later. What can the people do to back you to help push this, to make this possible?
Well, I mean, the first thing I can think of is call your legislator, right? And if you don't know who your legislator is, we can find out who they are by just looking up your address and calling them and saying, this is what I need in my community. And demanding that they actually do, like inviting them to something, whether it's a public housing site, whether it's a community center, whatever, and say, we want legislator X here because we don't feel like these issues are being addressed. And then if they don't come, then you can say, you know what, when it's election time, when they want your vote, you can say, you never came when we called you.
Well, I'm just making a suggestion.
Yes.
Just do the legislation. Mm-hmm. Just do the legislation, and present as an organization. Present the legislation, and present it to the community, and say pass the damn legislation.
But you know what's interesting around that is that. But you know what's interesting is that once the Bill of Rights is done and it's presented to the legislators, and you'll see who signs on and who doesn't.
Right.
And then you can see, so 5, 6, 7 people don't care about families in Westchester. That's just a beautiful.
No, we already know that.
No. We know that.
No, but you'll have
written.
You have written proof.
I understand. I understand.
And these didn't think
exactly.
It was
so then
that's political suicide.
Exactly. So then you go in as organizations and say, oh, legislator so and so, you represent this community. They came out to this and said they needed this. Why didn't you sign on?
Right.
So you're telling us that you don't care about families in Westchester.
Right.
Who wants to be on record saying I don't care about families?
Right.
They might find other ways of saying it, but to come out and say I don't care about families in Westchester, whatever the family is,
but you also got to understand. You also got to understand too the way the county is gerrymandered.
Right.
If they say they don't care,
right.
It doesn't unless there's a cross mix of races between all these different. Unless the network is big enough to reach a lot of these different districts, they can say they're not signing it, and it won't even affect them. It won't even affect them, in their election because of who their constituents are.
But it's interesting. Like if we just look at the issue of childcare,
right?
Any parent who isn't a stay-at-home parent, right, or doesn't have like that grandma, auntie, whatever to watch the child, uses daycare. They are impacted by the cost of daycare.
Oh boy.
That is part of my understanding is like that's part of the Family Bill of Rights. Like folks have access to real, truly affordable childcare, which impacts everybody, right? Or saying I want my child to live in a decent place, or like access to after school programs, or access to all these different things, or improved, enhanced, whatever way you want to word it, that impacts everybody. But you have to figure out how to talk about it, right? That anyone on both sides of the aisle can truly get it.
And that's the hard part.
That's the hard part.
Because poor and middle class white people vote against their own interests.
There you go.
And again, I say to you too, while you're doing these particular things, let us know so we can use our little forum to get the word out and speak it and spread it out to whoever needs to. You know
I will say that, you know, Blacks in Westchester have been at every CVH event and have like talked about it and published things on it when other media outlets did not. So that's huge. Now, I appreciate that.
Now we're gonna try to get you real quick. Talk about the forum that's coming up on the 30th. Ain't y'all part of that? That's going on at Greenberg.
Yes. So there's two things that we got going on. Yeah.
All right, and then we're gonna close up. We're gonna get Benyamin to get in about the march. We gotta really remind people.
So April 30th, Community Voices Heard, Mount Vernon United Tenants, Westpac, Citizen Action, some other organizations are doing a voting rights, voter and equity forum, which is going to be, and I will actually look at it up again because I can't remember.
It's at the Greenberg. It's at the Greenberg Town Hall.
Yes.
It's at 7 p.m.
Yes.
It's on the 30th.
Yes, thank you. Yes. So there are going to be some interesting panelists talking about like the issue of voting and the inequity, and then tomorrow.
So this has to do with Westchester, not just Greenberg.
Right.
Everybody. So anything about voting.
Everybody in Westchester
needs to be there.
Let's not.
You say Greenberg, and they're like, oh, that's not.
Oh yeah.
Right.
No,
right.
Westchester.
Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah.
When we talk on this, when we talk on this show, for those who listen in White Plains and watching, when we talk on this show, when something's going on in Yonkers, something's going on in Mount Vernon, Greenberg, or White Plains. Mm-hmm. This is for Westchester. Because this is what we talk about a Westchester problem. We're breaking down barriers. We're breaking down the gang mentality that we are in this all at once. So everybody come out to these events, please.
And then tomorrow is the Why She Ran event at the Yonkers Public Library. Again, Westchester wide. Because if we talk about electing people from our communities that really represent our interests, we need to find people to run. So there's
why is she running? You talking about Hillary?
It's about women running more.
But
it's not just about, that's another show. But we
need to talk. We need to.
We'll talk about that.
We need to come back on and talk about that.
Yeah.
So tomorrow is what time?
Tomorrow, 7:30 to 9, the Yonkers Library, 1 Larkin Plaza. We have the
Riverfront Library.
Yeah, the Riverfront Library in the community room. We have four elected officials that are women that are going to talk about why they ran, but some interesting questions.
Yeah, we might try to.
We'll try to come through.
Benyamin, what's the march, baby?
Yeah, I definitely want to get that in. I want everybody to hear about that.
Right. Let me tell you what this is about. Basically, since there has been over the years a large number of youth being killed and murdered in the city of Mount Vernon with gang violence. I mean, the numbers have come down, thank God, from 18 to about 3 or 4 last year. But the bottom line is this. We want to bring that number down to 0.
Right.
Because we don't need to have body bags piling up with our youth because of dysfunctionalness that's going on in the community. We can turn this thing around, too. But the main thing I noticed before when it wasn't 208 and 209, when the community came and embraced the youth and said, we do care about you, the following 2 years, there was no murders in the city of Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I remember that.
So what needs to happen again, that formula I know can work again, but we have to get involved as a community and deal with that again. Show these youth that we care about them, show them that we have some things that can help them and enhance their future. And if we bring those things to the forefront for them, then they can actually say, okay, they do care about us. Because sometimes they don't find it in the home, sometimes they don't find it amongst their friends. So even if we as community members could come out and say, hey, brother, hey, sister, I see you falling through the cracks, don't go there. Don't go in the jailhouse, don't go in
I had that.
Yeah. Say what?
And you haven't heard me say, when I was in Mount Vernon High School, there was a security guard on his off time who rode his bike to my house at 7 o'clock. He knocked on the door. He didn't want to get me in trouble. He had me come down the street. He was like, you ain't been to school in the last 3 days.
There you go.
You understand what I'm saying? Yo, dude, you messing up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He wasn't there to tell my father. He cared enough. Like, he wasn't working. He didn't live near me. But he rode his bike to my house at 7 to my apartment and made sure he got. And the fact that he did, you know what? I don't know if I cut any more after that, but I know I went to school the next day, though. You know what I'm saying? I can't say I never cut after that, but
it had
I
an
did go to
impact
school.
on it.
Well,
Yeah, I was definitely for the next week or two. I was good. I was there every day on time. I was there early the next day. You know?
And what's the time of the march, Brother Benyamin?
Okay, the march is going to be this Sunday coming up on the 26th. The march is going to start at Harley Park at 2:30.
2:30.
And that's like
Harley
about
Park.
6 or 7 blocks to City Hall, so nobody got to worry about getting outwinded there. But once we walk that 6 or 7 blocks, we'll be right in front of City Hall, and then we're going to have the conference inside City Hall. And we're going to be discussing what we can do to end the murders of our kids and what we can do to uplift and change the atmosphere here, because something got to give, man. We just can't watch this. I do not want to see it go from 4 murders to 18 murders again. That's uncalled for. We can can this thing and bring it down. Exactly. It could get real crazy. We definitely don't want the gangs to get out of hand again. We want our youth to actually have a positive and bright future, and that's where the listeners come in. That's where the community comes in. But we need to start to build that machine. I'm serious about this. We need to build this machine.
That's right.
It's necessary.
One thing we talked about, everybody says Black Lives Matter.
Exactly.
The reason that they have all these killings of the youth
I gave you that chipper.
because once it happens, nothing happens. Like it doesn't. They have no value of life. You can't have other people. The police. We talk about police need the value. We don't have enough value of our. We don't value our life. So these kids don't understand the value of life. You know what I'm saying? And if they was to kill a white dude in Fleetwood, there'd be like all kinds of investigations. Sometimes someone get killed on the South Side, you might not hear about it again. You know, and they see nothing happen. So
be like, oh well.
There's no, so that's very important too. To show that our lives. You want to say that? Make our lives matter.
Exactly.
And come out to this brother's what he's doing, support type situations like this, and show that we matter. You know what I'm saying? Is there anything online people can reach you? A website or anything? Or
Right. Well, on Facebook, Benyamin Bridges. There's Facebook. There's a flyer. We're putting together a Facebook page where we could actually just have different information on there that people can check out. So we're going to do that this week as well.
When you do that, make sure you contact us, and I'll share it through us.
Exactly.
And how can people contact you?
You could do www.cvhaction.org, and you can go to the Westchester page, and my contact info is there.
Okay.
Right. And one last thing I wanted to say.
You have a Facebook page and everything.
We do have a Facebook page, a CVH page, yeah.
I just wanted to say I do appreciate y'all. Y'all are on the front lines really doing this, and I tell you, a lot of people skirt around the issues, but you guys are focused right on it, man.
You stopped me yesterday. I walked into, I went to the thing for Richie Thomas, and one brother put a camera in my face asking me about something. I'm like, okay. And this brother was not going to let up. And I'm like, he's like, I talked to you, man. And I'm like, yeah. I didn't even know what he was talking about. I was like, I didn't get to walk in.
Right.
But I said we was going to do something about it. That was yesterday.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, y'all came through. I appreciate it. Definitely.
So we want you to keep doing what you're doing, and again, however we can help you get the information out.
Right.
See, we're only as powerful as y'all, the people we try to get the information out. But if y'all don't give us the information, then we can't disseminate it out to the community.
Exactly.
So we need the help of all of you and the support of all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? So y'all tell other people to come mess with us too. So yeah.
Well, I could put my number out there real quick.
Yeah. Whatever you want to give out.
That's 914-979-6372. 914-979-6372. So anybody have any questions about the march, they could definitely give us a call, and we will definitely bring them up to speed.
Is Dwayne, is they still on?
Dwayne and Andre still on. Y'all got any last words, briefly?
Last words, Wednesday is admin day, so if you have the Chambers is having a luncheon at Spring Asian Restaurant in Fleetwood. As an entrepreneur, I know the greatest thing that I need is a good staff, and people who really make an office run are the unsung heroes in the business world. So we're celebrating them this Wednesday. Bonacera, if you have anybody, Bonacera, shameless plug, Spring Asia. If you have anybody that you'd like to send, contact the Chambers on our website for information. And, just have a great, productive week. And I'm sure we'll be talking a few more times before September.
Dwayne, make sure you give me that information. I'll be there. It's Wednesday. I'll be there.
That's what's
Yeah,
up.
this one is the admin day.
Yeah.
All right.
Andre, any last
on?
words?
Yeah, Dwayne, I'm going to see you there at that. I already got my tickets. You know, I'm always at
Yes.
And you know, I'm always the first. But somehow I'm always the first one to get my tickets. But, you know, I just want to...
Talk about tickets, Andre. We need you to get your ticket for Saturday for the forum to come see me and Damon speak on the portrayal of black men in the media.
Well, I got
you.
I got you on my calendar. I said I'm going to be there. You know, I'm always there.
Come, bring your wife and your son. You know, y'all need to come and represent.
Okay, it'll be a family affair.
Yeah.
You know, and I just like to thank you, gentlemen, once again for you know, reaching out to the community and doing the show and doing the things that you guys do. I find that great, you know, and it's another way and another a way of getting out to all of the youth and all the other people that, you know, I've been definitely pointing towards this direction so that they can listen to people before politics and you know, get the media that they're not really getting from, you know, the regular news media and channels that nobody's covering. So bless you guys, and I hope that you continue to do this successfully. I hope to see it even bigger and bigger and continuously growing, and making sure that everybody has a voice and everybody else can be heard, and that the education continues, you know, in our communities.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother.
Before you go, I want to tell our guests, there's somebody you need to know. One of the things that he's doing, he got with the contractors that came to Mount Vernon, and he made them hire Mount Vernon residents. But not only that, since he's a contractor, for free of charge, you know, out of his own pocket, he's training the residents so that they can be qualified. And any of these people that try to come through here and they don't build, like he said, yo, AJ, they're not using Mount Vernon people. We're going to have a march. We're going to have a protest. Then he called me up. Okay, hold off on the protest. They found out we were having a protest. They want to meet with me.
Yep.
He's like,
it's just hearing that. That's
that's how it goes, you know.
So you know, you see somebody and they took a building on First, 28 East First. It was a beat down building. He got it from the city. Used people that just got out of jail, trained them people and stuff.
Nice.
They built that building to a nice. It's a state-of-the-art building on First Street.
Wonderful.
You know what I'm saying? And he used
Andre or Dwayne did. I'm sorry.
Andre Wallace.
Andre Wallace. Okay, Andre Wallace.
So Dwayne is the head of the Mount Vernon.
I would like to take credit for that, but I can't. But if you was on the phone, Andre, I would have took credit for that.
Yes, I just want that. Somebody
Lucky you was on the phone.
Perfect. No, that's good to know.
And he does train people from Yonkers for stuff in Yonkers, and
so Andre, we definitely got to talk then.
That's why I said that.
That's what it's all about.
Perfect.
Connecting.
Yes,
Damon, any
indeed.
last words, my brother?
You know, I had it. The 21st we'll be at the courthouse. So support.
That's Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
Tuesday.
supporting a young brother, Jamar Smythe. He's 34. He's done 4 years in prison, and now they're having a hearing to release him. He was caught up in the incident with the 2 Yonkers cops lying on warrants.
Okay.
And we're going to show up on the 24th. Yeah, to support this brother, and hopefully they will vacate his sentence and let him out on a false testimony of 2 police officers. So we'll be definitely out there supporting.
Detective Christian Koch and Neil Vera. You can read about them all on Black Westchester.
And then there's another press conference on Friday that we got to attend to. Out on I think he's having it on the Yonkers waterfront. How some shady dealing in real estate and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll be sending that out. So
pay attention, stay tuned.
So yes, so definitely stay in tune, and that's it.
Well, in closing, you could be doing anything else, but you decide to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This is Black Westchester presents People Before Politics every Saturday, 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Also, shout to the White Plains audience that watches us on public access. As always, this show will be on Black Westchester. Click on the site, go to the radio tab. You can see this show and any other show in its entirety on Black Westchester. Until next week, peace.
Doing commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still life of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will